Hello everybody and welcome back to Gaming with Kyle. Today we are looking at a different game. It's called Aurora. But before we jump into it, let me just explain what happened to the Factorio series. I'm really sorry, but something happened to the save file. I don't know. I really don't know what happened. I tried to load up the game and it kept crashing. I loaded up a personal save and it worked fine. And I just thought, okay, well maybe, So I tried a couple different things. And I couldn't get it to come back. So, I might restart that. It's probably for the best, because those first few episodes were really, really crap. But, yeah, so I took a break from that, for a while, and it kind of bummed me out from making videos, but, here lately, Aurora, one of my favorite games, has been getting a popularity boost. Mainly because another YouTuber called Quill18, he's way more famous than I am. In fact, I quite like a lot of his videos, especially his Kerbal Space Program ones. But he's basically popularizing it, and yeah. So I figured, hey, why not jump into this now that people are starting to see what it's all about. I mean, I've always wanted to do this game as a YouTube series, so this is probably the perfect time for it. And plus, I think it's cool to have different people's perspectives on a game. So, getting many Let's Plays of the same game up relatively around the same time, is excellent opportunity for people to learn and get different perspectives on the game and how to do things. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do today. So, if you haven't played Aurora4X, it's super complicated. It's considered the Dwarf Fortress, if you've ever played Dwarf Fortress. It's considered the Dwarf Fortress of 4X. And 4X stands for expand, explore, exterminate, and something else. I can't remember what the 4X is are. Anyways, that's getting a little off topic. But this game should also be called Aurora the Spreadsheet game, because it's not pretty. And you'll see what I mean by that here in a second. Now, the first thing I want to do, I was playing my own game, and this is, you can select your games from up here. And this is my own game, but we're going to start a new one, so you guys aren't jumping in halfway in the middle. So I normally call my new games after my empire, whatever I'm going to call them. And I think I'm going to go for a kind of, maybe a Starship Trooper kind of theme. So, if you've never seen Starship Troopers, the government in that is the United Citizens, I can't spell worth shit. United Citizens Federation. There we go. Now, that's just the name of the save file, right? To actually call your empire, you gotta come back down here. So we're gonna do the same thing again. United Citizens Federation. And then you get to pick a short name. I could just leave it as Federation, but we're gonna go for the UCF. And then you get to pick your government type. Now, if you've seen Starship Troopers, then it's not quite a democracy, but it's not quite a military dictatorship. It's like this weird in-between. The way it is like people who've served in the military and are veterans are allowed to vote. So we're going to go ahead and just pick oligarchy, because that's kind of the closest thing that this game has. Because an oligarchy is like a select group of people get to make the decisions, and I think that fits the... two Z's. It fits the name the best. And then we're just going to go for theme. Normally I would go... There's tons of these. Normally I go for Norse, but just because of like pronunciation of things and stuff, because I'm bad at that, I'm just going to stick to United States. And we're going to start off conventional. Start from the very beginning. That way you guys have a good idea of what's going on. Most of these settings you can leave the same. I'm going to turn this to 0. Because NPRs are like the AI, the enemy, right? But by setting this to 0, that doesn't mean we're not going to be playing against anybody. It just means that the NPRs will be generated as we start exploring the galaxy. With NPRs being generated at the very beginning of the game, it can kind of slow things down as they expand and explore. And it can also, because I'm still kind of learning the game myself, even after years of playing it, it's that complex. But because I'm still learning the game, it's easier if, there isn't another race out there who's doing 10 times better than I am, because I just simply don't know all the intricate details. So we're just going to put that to 0. Oh, we're going to leave that on. All this other stuff we're going to leave the same, except for this real world star systems. It's really, these are cool. It generates star systems around you based off of, what's close to Earth in the real world and what those solar systems kind of look like. But we're going to leave that off so that way the game just generates random solar systems, because I've played with real star systems a lot, and you get a lot of the same systems over and over and over again. It becomes predictable and kind of boring. So we're just going to leave those off. And then we're going to turn on orbital motion for asteroids. Orbital motion is like simulated, but not for all objects unless you tick this. So I normally like to have that ticked. We're also going to reduce the maximum number of star systems from 1,000 to 500. That's just got to do with like load times and stuff. You can fiddle with this as you see fit with your system, but I like 500. Now, what else? I think I got everything. We're just going to change this to 5. I like starting off with 5. We're going to set this to 0, so it's random. Soul jump points, this is like how you get in and out of systems. So like, if you've got a map, right? And, well, if you're in a solar system, right, there's a ton of different points, and you scan these points, and eventually you find exits out in and out of that system. So by setting this to 0, you just set a random amount of exits. Now, some people recommend you put a fixed number, but I don't. I'm not too bothered by leaving that as 0. Otherwise, I think everything's pretty much set. All this other stuff you can go through, and if you hover over it, it'll give you a nice little tooltip of what it's about. And this really allows you to customize your game as you see fit. But as it stands now, I think this is perfect for me. So we're just going to hit Create Game. Now, this takes a while. You just click OK on this window. It's just telling you that what it's doing. So this normally takes a while. This game is great. It's super complicated, and it's definitely not a pretty game. It's quite ugly, but it's still amazing. The depth that's in this game is great, and the amount of details that the programmer, which was made by one guy, this game was made by one guy. His name is Steve, right? The detail is amazing, like all the little different things, and you can do a lot of stuff. It's really great, and you'll see what I mean. So game setup is complete, so we're just going to click OK. So it doesn't drop you directly into the game. You still have to pick it from the save file. Now, to make things a little more interesting, right, what we're going to do is we're going to add an extra effect. Now, you couldn't do this in the previous window, but you can do it here. If you go down here to Disaster, you can decide on a disaster. Now, right now, the only things that are in the game are sun warming and sun cooling, right? With sun warming, that means like planets closer are starting to get heated up faster, and well, all the planets and moons will be heated up. But the closer you are to the sun, obviously, the more of an effect it's going to have. So we're just going to put that on 1%. Now, what this means is that Earth is not going to be safe forever. We're going to have to get all our people off Earth, maybe into a completely different solar system. But you'll see what I mean. It makes the game a lot more interesting. Everything else, though, we're going to keep the same. Now, this took me a while to figure out. If you pick one of these settings or change anything here, you have to click Save, right? And click OK here, unless you set a password for your, Space Master. Put your password in here. I didn't, so just click OK. And that was in the previous screen. So, yeah. So that's just going to mean that we're going to have to account for that, either through terraforming or moving our people away from Earth. So that's pretty much everything. The game's all set up. So now we're going to click, we've got it selected up here. We saved that disaster, and we're just going to click select, and it's going to open the game up. Yep, this is the game. Right here. This little bar. That's the game. Amazing, isn't it? No, all your menus and stuff can be selected from here. Now, the menu that most people stick to as their quote-unquote main menu is this one, the system maps. You can click it here, or you can just press the F3 key, and it'll bring it right up. Now, this is considered by most as the main screen of the game, because you have access to almost everything from this screen, and it shows you a good, representation of what's going on. And you're probably thinking, what on earth is that? What is this? What is this? Well, this is our solar system with all the stuff. And I don't mean just the planets and moons, but I mean all the stuff. As you can see here, these are comets. That little line represents them, where they came from last turn and where they're going to. You've got different planets, you got different stuff going on, and, well, thankfully, we don't have to deal with this huge mess. We can zoom in and see better. So now you're starting to see, like, the Oort cloud, which is the, like, kind of like a cloud of debris around our solar system. Pluto is considered an Oort cloud object. Yeah, and then you can see, for instance, right here, there's Neptune. All right, let's see if we can find another one. Let's see, it should be around here. Uranus, right there, and as we zoom in closer, we start to see more and more. There's Saturn. Here's Jupiter. There's a little bit of asteroids along the Jupiter's orbit. And this is the asteroid belt, and as we zoom in closer, there's... to zoom in, you can use the numpad's plus and minus keys. And to move the screen around, use the arrows on the numpad. The normal game arrows don't work, so I don't know if there's a way you can change those, but I'm fine using the numpad. But yeah, so zooming in, there's Mars right there. Then Earth, it's kind of near this, it's an asteroid, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an asteroid. And then Venus, Mercury, and then our Sun. So, yeah, that's our solar system. Now, this is a lot of stuff to take in. So what I normally do is these windows allow you to control and see on the fly some of the details that you need. And so we're just going to come into Display 2, and we're going to click Asteroids with Minerals only. And you'll see why that's important a little bit. It just clears up our screen a bit. As you can see, Ceres, it leaves dwarf planets like Ceres and Pluto. Like if we zoom out here, we should find Pluto. Where are you? Ah, there. And some of the other dwarf planets: Orcus, Sedna, Makemake, Hauma, Quaora. I don't know. But yeah, that just cleans up the screen a little bit, makes it easier to see. And as we start exploring our solar system, if any of those asteroids that we hid have minerals, they'll show up. So, and a lot of them do. So the screen will still get a little messy, but this is a good way of cleaning it up. The other thing we want to do is we want to go to... Where is it? Contacts? Nope. I think it's the first display tab. That makes sense. And we're just going to click this. Show events. And this is just going to show events that happen every turn. Now, you can come up in here and see more details about that if the text overfills and can't display it all. So this is a good screen, and that button is right here. I'm pretty sure there's a hotkey for it, but I don't normally mess with the hotkeys in this game except for the F3 to open the solar view. So the first thing, before you even start playing the game really, is you need to understand a lot of the mechanics. Now, the first thing is that this game isn't real time. It goes by quote-unquote turns. Now, you get to control how long those turns are. You can do anything from 5 seconds up to 30 days. Now, this bar isn't as important. Just, if you accidentally ever click one of these buttons, just click automatic. It just has to do with load times, and it will automatically adjust to the best setting for the situation and for your computer's hardware. So it's just best to leave it on automatic. Now, the turns, right? Deciding what time scale you want to increment at is important, depending on your situation. If you're just waiting for things to build and research to be done, 30 or 5 days is great. But if you're in the middle of heated combat, and in this game combat can, drastically change within seconds, you want to use a 5-second timer. So, but that's just the main mechanic you need to know about how to control time flow in this game. So, we're gonna just start actually doing things now. Now, the first thing that I always do is go to Commanders here with a picture of Commander Riker, if any of you are Star Trek fans. And we're gonna just set some things, right? We're gonna come down here. This window is representative of all the different types of commanders, from naval officers to scientists, civilian administrators, and ground force officers. So our naval officers, we're going to set somebody to be the head of our military, basically, at least of this part of it. trust me, it's confusing. I'm still, like I said earlier, I'm still learning this stuff. So if you come down here and select the highest rank of people that you have, and they're ranked from 1 through 8, and then they have a name related to your theme that you picked at the beginning. All right, so like if you were playing the Norse theme, like I normally play, like one of these would be kind of be like House Carl and some other ones. All right, but because we've stuck with the United States theme, it's gonna just name them by what United States normally calls their Navy officers. So, so we're going to pick a commander of our fleet headquarters. Now, this guy isn't too terribly important, but he has to be rank 3. That's what this little R3 means. So he couldn't be a commander or a lieutenant commander. He has to be a captain or higher. So we have 2 options, Oliver Davies and Reese Barker. Now, looking at these guys, they're both pretty much the same. This guy has higher political reliability, but that only has to do with like how fast he gets promoted. So we're probably going to stick with Oliver Davies, just because you want the guy who's in charge to be the highest rank, right? So we're just going to click assign, and that's just going to open up a bunch of other ones, right? And we're not going to mess with these. What we're just going to do is we're going to click automated assignments. It will pick all the best people for all these slots. So outside of assigning your commander, which you have to do yourself, this will all sort itself out. Now, the next thing we want to look at in the screen is our civilian administrators. We got to set a governor of Earth. Who's in charge of running the Earth? Well, while we're controlling the entire empire, which right now only consists of Earth, you want to delegate tasks, right? So for this, we probably want somebody who's either got mining, a skill bonus to mining, how fast we're getting minerals out of the ground, a skill bonus to construction of both infrastructure, or installations rather, and shipbuilding. So the first thing I normally check for is mining, though, because you're going to run out of materials on Earth. As you start building things, you're not going to be able to mine them fast enough. So getting a mining bonus prolongs that period. So we're going to look at this guy. He's got a 25% bonus, but he's also got a population growth bonus, as you can see up here, of 20%. And he's only an A1, which means he can't do anything, because the person who's the civilian administrator of Earth has to be at least A2. So this guy's not going to work. So we're going to skip over to the next one. This guy's got an administrative rating of 4, plus he gets a shipbuilding bonus. All right. Now remember, we're dealing with a disaster. All right. So shipbuilding is going to be super important, because we need to start shoveling people and installations and infrastructure away from Earth to a safer place. So this guy is probably a good choice, but let's just check out our other ones. This guy has a 30% shipping bonus. And he's administrative rating 5. Sorry, just taking a quick drink. That's a tough one. 20% bonus is nice on the mining, but 15% is not anything to shake a stick at. And this guy has wealth creation, which isn't too terribly important unless you're relying on your civilian economy a lot, which I might be doing. So this guy is probably my best bet. So we're just going to click his name, make sure you have Governor of Earth highlighted, and then come down here and click the assign button. And there you go. So what's his name? Harvey Law has been assigned to the third civilian administrator. Harvey Law has been assigned to be Governor of Earth. Perfect. So that's it for this screen. We haven't even started making any turns yet. We're just still doing some setup stuff. Now, the next thing you need to do is you need to think about, what are we going to need? What kind of technology are we going to need? Well, if you start with a conventional start, the first technology you're always going to probably want to shoot for is the trans-Newtonian tech. This one right here. Because without this one, all your other technologies are still locked up. Now, each of these technologies are put into different categories. You've got biology, genetics, construction and production, defense systems, energy weapons, right there, logistics and ground combat, missiles/kinetic weapons, power and propulsion, and sensors and fire control. And these generally give you a good idea of what's in each category. But the first technology we want is trans-Newtonian technology. That's going to move our empire from conventional, real-world kind of stuff into this futuristic, beyond physics kind of technology. And so we're going to need that. If you start conventional, this is probably the best place to start. And once you pick a technology, right, you also need to pick a scientist to lead the team that's going to do the research. Now, you come over here and you look at your scientists, and each of your scientists have a specialization, right? So when I first started playing, I thought, hey, this guy's got a specialization in construction and production, and so this bonus must mean he gives a 30% bonus to that, right? That's not quite how it works. This guy would give a 30% bonus to any technology he researches. So he could be researching something in biology and genetics, right? But he would still give a 30% bonus to that. What it means, having that specialization, means that his bonus, which is 30%, is multiplied by 4, right? So this guy is actually giving us a 120% bonus to Transnewtonian technology. Or, well, I should be saying lady because it's Victoria McLean. So yeah, Victoria McLean is going to give us a 120% bonus on speed at researching this, which is perfect because we need this technology as fast as we can because our sun is warming up for some inexplicable reason, right? We need to get out of here. We need to get the technology to move. And there's 500 million people on Earth. I know there's more than that in the real world, but, you know, you can come up with your own disaster. In my head right now, I'm thinking, you know, the sun is starting to warm. Maybe there's a reason behind it. Maybe there was some sort of disaster, like a solar flare that started a weird chain reaction that's heating the sun up. And that same solar flare, this ginormous solar flare, hit the Earth and caused all sorts of mayhem. Things exploded, people started dying, and the last remnants of humanity managed to scrape together and reform into this new world government, the United Citizens Federation, right? And there's only about 500 million of them left, right? You know, no population count in the real world's accurate, so we can assume that it's not perfectly 500 million, but that's just for role-playing purposes. So this is an obvious choice. We don't want to go for anybody else, because this guy would only give 25%, and these guys wouldn't give any bonus. So we're going to get Victoria McLean working on that. You can decide how many labs of your available labs, but because we want this technology as fast as possible, we're just going to assign all of the labs to Victoria, and she's going to research that Transnewtonian technology. So we're going to click Create. It's going to ask us if we're sure, and we're just going to say yeah. I don't know why you need a little pop-up window asking you if you're sure. I mean, if you make a mistake, you can just come up here and click cancel, and no harm, no foul. If you cancel halfway through a research project, it's not like you lose all the data. You can just pick up right where you left off later. So, yeah. So the next thing we need to look at is this screen. This screen, well, actually, these two buttons open up the same screen. In fact, these three buttons for a lot of these first buttons open up the same screens. But we're going to click Colony Summary one, the one that looks like buildings. And this is going to give us a quick overview of what Earth has. Now, this screen is important. It gives you a lot of information about what's going on your particular planets. And so I'm just going to do a little quick rundown on this, all the important parts. So this stuff is not really too terribly important, except for maybe administration level acquired. As your planet grows, this number is going to go higher. But we have an administrator level 5, I think, running our planet. So I don't think we need to worry about that for very much. Annual wealth creation. Like I said, this number is not too terribly important either. As long as, you know, you're not overspending. And the only way you can really spend money is by hiring the civilian economy to do things for you, or buying their materials, because the civilians will settle their own colonies and stuff, civilian mining operations and stuff like that. So you want to buy that stuff maybe, or subsidize it. It all depends on what kind of game you're playing. The population. This shows you how your population is kind of broken down. Normally, I don't worry too much about that. I don't think it's that too terribly important. As long as you know, everything's still working, you should be okay. But the most important part of this is your population. So right now we have 500 million people on Earth. So 500 million. And we have an annual growth rate of 2.52%, which means as time goes on, our population is going to grow by that amount, and that will fluctuate up and down depending on, you know, how big the population is, what kind of infrastructure we have, technologies, what kind of administrators we have. Because remember earlier we were looking at that one, and he gave a 20% bonus. So this would increase by 20%, which means our population will grow faster, that might be something you want. But in our case, having a population that's growing exponentially super fast is not good, because that just means more and more people we need to shovel off-world. Because remember, we're dealing with a disaster here. Our sun, rather, is heating up, and we gotta get out of here. Now, infrastructure. Now, on Earth, because Earth is perfect for humans, we evolved here, we don't need infrastructure. But on different planets, and I'll show you this real quick, on different planets, like, for instance, let's see, this button. This button opens up your solar system view, and it gives you a list of all the planets. It takes a little while to load. Trust me, it isn't crashing your game. A lot of the times, the computer thinks that the game is crashing when it really isn't, so just let the game load and it'll do its thing. Anyways, this shows us all the different planets in our solar system. So Earth doesn't have a colony cost, so it doesn't need infrastructure. But Luna here has Moon, right, has a colony cost of 2, and so does Mars. What that means is, if we go back to this screen, we would need 200 infrastructure per million people we wanted on our planet. So if Earth had a colony cost of 2, that means we would need, let's see, what's 200 times 500? That's 10 with 4 zeros on the end. So you would need 100,000 infrastructure to support all these people. I think I did my math right. I wish we had the calculator. There we go. So, 500 times 200. Yeah, I did my math right. You would need 100,000 infrastructure to support this population. Luckily for us, right now, we don't need that. As our sun starts to heat up, though, the Earth is going to fall out of favor for humankind. So, we might need to build infrastructure before we get everybody off. Next important thing on this list is right about here. Military Academy. Now, the Military Academy, super important. If you don't have one, you're not going to be training new scientists, new naval officers, new stuff like that, and you need more of those people. If we go back to our research tab, we only have 4 scientists. We have 1 working right now, and then these 3. And most of them don't fit into the categories that we're going to be looking at the most. So we definitely need more of those guys. Now, you can upgrade this by coming over to industry, and we're going to do that here in a second, and I'll show you how to do that. But just remember that your military academy is super important for growing your available administrators, scientists, and naval officers and ground officers. The next important thing is this. This is a breakdown of what installations are on the planet. This list right here. Now, we have a shipyard, which allows you to build spaceships, and out of those shipyards, we have 1 slipway. Now, 1 shipyard can have multiple slipways, which means it can build multiple ships. And I'll go in more depth about how shipyards work here in a little bit. And the next important thing is maintenance facilities. These aren't going to become too terribly important until you start growing your military. And so I'll cover those when we get to it. Now, conventional industry. Because we're pre-trans-Newtonian, we right now only have conventional industry. But as we get beyond conventional industry, we're going to need to upgrade our stuff to fit into the trans-Newtonian technology era. So this is going to break down into different factories, mines, and fuel refineries. But like I said, this game is incredibly complex, so we're just going to cover things as they come. Now, this shows us how many research labs. We saw that earlier. Over here, we only had 5. So that matches the same thing here, 5. Ground force training facilities, where you train your ground force troops, because your planets can be invaded by like aliens and stuff. Fuel available shows how much fuel is available on the planet, and the fuel is made from thorium. I'll show you that in a second too. And let's see. I think everything else, these things will change. In my political stability modifier is probably the most important one. If you don't have the proper infrastructure to support the people, or you're not protecting them well enough, this will go down. And speaking of protecting them, this is what I'm talking about. Requested protection level. When you start building military things, they'll have what's called a PPV, planetary protection value. How much of an appearance they have to protect. So it's not like a value of how strong they are, but how do they appear to our civilians? How strong does it appear to our civilians? So, on Earth, this doesn't matter because political stability doesn't go down unless infrastructure goes down. So, this doesn't matter. But later, on different planets, this is going to matter because they're going to start getting upset that they're not protected. So, I think that's this screen complete. So, we're just going to skip over to industry now. The next tab. And as you can see, there's like, 12 tabs here. And we've only looked at 3 of them so far. So industry. This is where you decide things to build. So you can build installations, missiles, fighters, ship components, PDCs, which stands for Planetary Defense Centers, or orbital habitats. And then you can prefab some of those PDCs because they can get pretty big, and refit them too. But right now, we're just going to look at installations. The first thing we want to do is upgrade our military academy. Now, I personally normally go ahead and upgrade it to level 3. So you just come down here. You have Military Academy selected. Come down here, select how many levels you want to go up by. So we're just going to go up by 2. And what percentage of our industry is going to be dedicated to building these. So we're just going to allow 100% of our industry to go dedicated to building that. And we're just going to click Create. And so that's going to upgrade the Military Academy on Earth to level 3. We can later move, I believe. I don't know if you can move military academies, but you can move different installations later. Like, we could move this conventional industry to other planets and use it there. So eventually we're going to move most of the stuff off Earth. Next, that's that for this tab, really. We're going to be in this tab a lot, so you'll probably become familiar with it pretty quickly. So mining and maintenance, this is the next important one. Oh, before we get into this, we're just going to come back here. You can also control fuel production here, start and stop. Right? For right now, just leave it on start. So, yep. And then coming back over here, mining maintenance. Now, these are all the different types of transnewtonian materials that can be on any one planet. Now, Earth is always generated with a amount of every element, but the actual amount can be random. So this represents tons, right? So there's 492,300 tons of duranium on Earth that could be mined, right? And our annual production, assuming accessibility 1, is 862.5 tons a year, right? And that's not 862 spread out across all of this. It means 862 tons of each on the planet, assuming that accessibility is 1. Now, accessibility is probably one of the number 1 most important things to look for when looking at new places to mine. So, for instance, duranium has 0.9. That means it's only going to work 90% as well as the actual 862.5 value here, right? So if we pull up that calculator again, right, and click, let's see, 862.5 times 0.9, we're only going to be making 776.25 tons a year, right? And now this becomes incredible, and you can see that right here. You see how that value is matched up? Rounding in this game, I think it always assumes to round down. I think that's how it works. So yeah, as you can see, some of these values are pretty low, like 0.5 and 0.4. Now, that means we're not going to be mining anywhere near as much of these. Neutronium and Galacite. Luckily for us, they're not too terribly important. You're not going to need a whole lot of them. The number 2 that you want to look at straight away is your Sorium and your Duranium. Now, Sorium represents fuel, right? You come over here, and down here, fuel production. Your fuel production takes Sorium and turns it into fuel. So you need a lot of this. Now, 125,000, that is not a lot of Sorium. You're going to need to find more. I mean, Earth never really has a lot of any of these. It has enough to get you started, but you're going to need to find more. And duranium is important because it's like the new steel. You know, almost everything is made out of duranium. So you're going to need a lot of it. I mean, as you can see, duranium's already turned yellow, and that means we're going to run out of it soon based off of our projected usage. So, and, you know, that's not good. If we run out of duranium, we can't build anything. And if we can't build anything, then we're dead. Our planet's going to die because the sun's expanding, or it's heating up, and it's going to fry everything. I'm sorry this video is running kind of long. I want to get through explaining everything first. The other videos I'll try to keep anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes, but this one might run over quite a bit. So next tab, managing your shipyards. This is another screen you're going to be in a lot, so I'm not going to explain it too terribly in depth right now, because as we use it, you'll get a hang for it. But basically, slipways, how many ships can you build at a time, how big those ships can be. You know, your ships are going to get into the tens of thousands of tons, so 1,000 tons is nowhere near enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down here. This allows you to upgrade your shipyard, and this allows you to select what kind of ships to build. So we're just going to go ahead and add a 5,000 ton capacity to this shipyard. And that's going to take till 5th of November 2028, which is 3 years from now. So this is going to take 3 years to do. But we need to do it. So click Set Activity, and that will get started once we start ticking turns. Shipyard tasks, it shows what kind of ships you're building. So, you know, this screen doesn't really give that information too well, so that's why you need this one. Environment slash GMC, Genetic Modification Centers. You can create new races based off of your race. So, like, you want to create a race of people who can survive well in lower gravity, this is where you do it. And it also allows you to control your environment. If you have terraforming centers on your planet, you can change your atmosphere. And that's probably going to be important for us later, because we're going to need to ship people to a new planet. And that planet's probably not going to be good for us straight off the bat, so we're going to need to upgrade it. We're going to need to change its atmosphere and stuff. And probably genetically modify our people to deal with other situations. But this gives you a breakdown of what the atmosphere is made of. So, 79% nitrogen, 20% oxygen, and 1% argon. That's pretty much what our real-world atmosphere is made out of. It breaks it down pretty well. This number represents, like, how much of a Earth... I don't know how to explain it. So it's like 0.79 atmospheres, right? One atmosphere being the total atmosphere of Earth. So other planets might have, like, 3 atmospheric pressure, right? That's what it is. So it's like 0.79 atmospheric pressures worth our nitrogen. So for for humans, it doesn't matter how much percentage, as long as you got 0.2 atmospheres worth of oxygen in your air. It does matter how thick the atmosphere is, because too thick and you can't breathe it. Too thin, you're not getting enough. So, yeah, that's how you control that, and you'll see more. Like I said, a lot of this you'll just get the hang of as we use it. A lot of these other tabs, this one will become important later, but it's really complex. Same with this one, so we'll get into those later. Same with this one, and this one. This one, I don't really use. Like I said, you don't have to worry about wealth too much unless you're spending a lot of money in your civilian sector, which you won't be doing until way, way, way later in the game. I'm talking hours upon hours upon hours later in the game. So that's this screen finished. I think. Let's just make sure we set everything. We have our fuel going. Yep. Fuel is being made. We are upgrading our military academy. And we started upgrading our shipyard. Perfect. So we're done in this screen. So we're going to close that off for now. All these other screens, we'll get to them as we need them. And I'll explain them then. Alright? So I think, for right now, I think we're ready to start running our turns. Now, I'm just going to run the turns until we get Trans-Newtonian technology, and then I think I'm going to end it there. That way you can see kind of how the turning works. Now, you could just come up here and click 30 days, and it will cycle through 30 days. Alright, and I'll give you a list of things that happen in those 30 days. So, remember how we set this to automatically assign people? Well, it's just done that for us. So if we come in here, see, it's automatically assigned different people to these different jobs based off of their skills, which is perfect for us. So normally you won't get this much information, and you can see that in here too. Oh, if you want this to be color-coded, just come up here and set to default. It's normally a good setup, and you'll get used to the colors pretty quickly. Just close that. So you could just keep clicking 30 days, or you could click auto turns and then click 30 days, and then it will just cycle through until something important happens. Like, as you see, I'm not doing anything, and it's just cycling through. And you can see all the different stuff, like the comets moving in and out, and the planets rotating. And, like, if there were asteroids, you'd see them rotating around. Here comes Jupiter, up and around. And it'll just keep ticking through until something important happens. Like officer health and new officers, they're not too terribly important. But something like, your production's finished, or research is finished, or ships are finished building, or ships have completed orders, it will stop the game for that. And you'll get used to what kind of things stop it. So here. Research completed. So our Victoria McLean has finished doing Transnewtonian tech. So we're just going to open up our research screen, and as you're going to see, we have a lot more technology to look at now. Tons more. But the first thing we're going to look up is power and propulsion, because we need to start getting new engines. But before we can get new engines, we need new reactors to run those engines. So we're going to go to pressurized water reactors, and we're going to find, we don't have a specialist in power and propulsion yet. So we're just going to pick Victoria McLean again, because she's got the best bonus. She's not going to give 120 like last time, but 30% is definitely not something to shake a stick at if you don't have a specialist. So we're just going to go ahead and pressurized, click her, make sure we're giving her all the labs, and set that out. And that's how easy it is to get research going. I think I'm going to end the episode there. It's running into the 40-minute mark, so this is probably going to be a really long episode. I highly doubt you're going to watch all the way through this. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like this stuff. Let me know if you guys would like to see Factorio come up again. I mean, I would like to play that game again some other time. But, and if you guys are still interested in that, please let me know. I will definitely do that. I'll put links to where you can get this game down below. I will link you straight to a specialized installer made by a community member that will handle it all for you, because the installation process can be a little shaky at times if you don't know what you're doing. I mean, I messed it up the first couple times I tried to install it. So the installer is perfect, and it's normally up to date. Right now I'm playing with 7.1. I'm not going to update to 7.2, which should be coming out relatively soon, because that will completely break this save. So, but, if your game is slightly different from mine, that's going to be why. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Like I said, like, comment, and subscribe, and see you around. Hi again, everybody. I know the episode just ended, but I just wanted to do a little quick update thing. I know this video was not in a correct resolution. I didn't realize until after I recorded it that everything looked a little weird, so the text was kind of hard to read. I'm hoping that I can fix that, and for the next episode, I'm going to try something. I think it's just because my fraps wasn't set to full size, was rather set to half size recording, video capture settings. So hopefully next time that'll be fixed. Seems I always have problems with the first episode. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you around.